Hi there, welcome to this recorded session for the Partnership Fund Program 2026-2027 funding initiative. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 honors the land, the people, and the treaties, recognizing the original guides of these territories and their enduring contributions. As treaty people, we all share the responsibility to uphold these agreements in a fair and respectful way. As a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 is committed to supporting Indigenous communities by creating space for their stories and helping foster socioeconomic growth through tourism. Here's just a brief look of what I'm going to be covering today during this recording. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. I am happy to answer any questions you may have about the program, about your business, what your specific project is. Want to make sure you have all the information you need. Here's just a quick introduction to myself. My name is Meg Dybros. I'm the operations manager here at RTO9 and responsible for managing the Partnership Fund program. So during the application process and throughout the delivery of your project, if you are approved for funding, I will be your main point of contact. So please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns. You can use the contact information here. I'm happy to connect with you over the phone, or if we want to schedule a one-on-one virtual meeting, I can show you where to book that. Just want to chat about your project before you apply. Make sure you have all the information you need, answer to all of the questions. I know lots of businesses, time is money, so you don't want to be wasting a bunch of time trying to apply. I'll make it easy. I'll answer your questions and make the application process a lot smoother. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to start with just a program overview of what the Partnership Fund program actually is. The RTO9's Partnership Fund initiative is designed to collaborate with the region's tourism businesses to grow tourism in Southeastern Ontario. So this program's estimated allocation is about $219,000 from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. Some of the objectives of both the RTO9 and the ministry through offering this program is to enhance tourism across the province, especially overnight stays. Support the RTO is the leader in regional tourism, but also as a resource for operators within the region. Maximize support for tourism at a regional level by encouraging strong partnerships, expanding the breadth and diversity of funding partners. Encourage RTOs to engage industry partners to broaden their financial base to extend reach. Support a coordinated approach that aligns planning, product development, investment attraction, and workforce development in the region. Assure the transparency and accountability of funding through the transfer payment agreement, and increase the economic tourism value of the region. Next, partner eligibility. So who is eligible to apply for the 2026-2027 Partnership Fund program? Now, before I totally jump into that, I just want to note that businesses that are just looking for funds and aren't interested in learning or understanding how their project fits within the tourism landscape will not be considered for this program. We truly are looking for businesses that want to help grow the visitor economy, which in turn makes our communities vibrant places to live and work. That being said, all eligible partners must be involved in the tourism industry in some capacity. Eligible businesses include for-profit tourism businesses who are either incorporated or have an active CRA business number, and Indigenous operators eligible for this program must be at least 51% plus Indigenous owned and controlled. At the time of submission of your application, for your application to be considered, you will need to provide either a digital copy of either your incorporation certificate, your CRA business number, or your certificate of Indian status registry number or Métis registry number. I've listed everything out here on this slide so that if you have any questions about whether or not you're an eligible business, I mean, you can always reach out, but try and make it pretty clear here as well. But please, if you have any questions, just send them along. So ineligible applicants who are not able to apply for funding for the 2026-2027 funding year includes DMOs or DMPs or DMMOs, municipalities, museums, BIAs, chambers of commerce, or any other membership-based association, no not-for-profits. The focus for this funding is to support the businesses and the people delivering our tourism products across the region without bias. There are some other requirements to be considered eligible for this program. 2 million general commercial liability with the RTO9 listed as insured is a must. Your insurance company should provide you with a certificate of insurance stating such at no charge. We only require this proof of insurance after you've been accepted into the program. All applicants must be located within the region served by RTO9. I will have a map here to help for your reference, but if you're unsure, it's also included in the guidelines. Your DMO or DMP or DMMO should provide you with a letter of confirmation or a letter of support, just to identify to the assessment team that you've shared your application with them, you've shared which project's going to be. This is a really crucial step because they are going to be someone who can help support your product. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's through marketing support, but it's really crucial that they know what's going on in their destination so they can amplify that messaging. We're also going to require disclosure of any additional funding you may be receiving for this project. So if you have applied for, say, Experience Ontario 2026, you need to let us know. So here's the map that I mentioned of the area served by RTO9. It includes 11 destinations, and the boundaries go from the city of Quinte West right up to the Quebec border in the east. Again, this map is included in the guidelines. Should you want to have a closer look, zoom in a little bit just to make sure that you fall within the area. But those destinations served by RTO9 include parts of the Bay of Quinte, Prince Edward County, parts of Lennox and Addington, including Stones Mills, Greater Napanee and Loyalist, parts of Frontenac County, so including South Frontenac and the islands, Kingston, Thousand Islands, Gananoque, Brockville, Thousand Islands, Rideau Canal Waterways, Stormont, Dundas and Glengarry, Cornwall, and Prescott and Russell. So the much anticipated project categories. So before applying, we want you to look at what your proposed project is going to be through a tourism lens and think on the following questions. Is your project going to help you drive and retain visitors from outside of your community or outside of the region? Is there an opportunity for them to spend money while they are here? Is there a way to measure that success of your project? And at what point are you going to share those success stories with RTO9? It's really important to note that you're only able to apply under a single category. So make sure you're assessing your current needs and being strategic in what you would like to tackle for your business. So the first category is digital capacity building, which supports tourism businesses in strengthening their digital presence and skills to better connect with travelers. Projects may include website development, professional graphic design, and one-on-one training for business owners and staff in digital marketing, social media, and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. So by enhancing digital capabilities, businesses can increase online visibility, streamline bookings, and deliver more engaging and accessible experience for visitors. So this includes the development or enhancement of websites and online booking platforms to improve visitor accessibility and engagement, creating professional visual assets, including logos and graphics to strengthen brand identity, one-on-one training for staff using an RTO9 vetted professional in digital marketing, social media management, and AI tools to better reach and serve travelers. It's important to note that this category is not intended to cover marketing costs and does not cover costs associated with digital marketing ad campaigns or any standalone costs. Category number 2, photography and videography. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And in tourism, that saying couldn't be more true. Professionally done video and photos for your website and social media can create a storytelling experience for potential visitors and allow them to make a connection to your location, business, or brand just through a screen. So having high quality imagery is an essential part of conveying your business's story to the world and helps visitors imagine themselves enjoying your experience. Some really important things to consider when applying to this category. All photography and videography must be experience-based, not product-based. So applications that are intended as a product catalog, such as an online retail store, will not be considered funding. We need people, we need faces, we need people enjoying your experiences. We also require the use of an RTO9 vetted photographer, videographer for asset creations, We are looking for vendors with experience in tourism photography and that are familiar with RTO9. We also require the rights-free access to all photos and videos created during the project period, which will be shared with our destination partners, Destination Ontario and Destination Canada, to amplify all that good work that you're doing. And last but not least, signage. It's a really important part of your tourism business. If done right, good signage is clear, concise, and a valuable part of your branding. It can cause a lot of confusion and frustration if visitors are unable to locate your business due to poor or non-existent signage. So signage should be clear. Avoid cognitive overload with too much information, excessive text, or graphics. And funding under this category can include costs associated with the design and installation of building signage, road and directional signage for rural tourism businesses. We do ask to see some design proofs before production. So this includes new TOD signs. The funding is not intended to pay for an annual renewal. It has to be a new TOD signage contract. A municipal or county signage program. If your municipality offers a tourism wayfinding signage program, such as SDG, they have a tourism program for signage. All wayfinding signage that's planned for non-business property must go through the proper channels with your local municipality to ensure all proper permitting is in place. So if you're not sure, reach out now. You want to make sure that if you're looking to get a sign on piece of property that is not owned by you, that you are getting the correct permissions and permits to do so. It's important to note that this, as I mentioned, does not cover the annual renewal costs associated with contracted wayfinding signage. And it does not cover marketing specific signage such as the digital en route signs or billboards. So the conditions of funding, what are the ministry guidelines? So the conditions of funding are set by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming and given to the RTO to assist with the distribution of funds. So this following information is mandatory for participation in the program. So the ministry's definition of a partner in the context of this partnership funding model, a partnership is defined as the agreement of the RTO to work with one or more entities on a specific project in support of the RTO's operations plan. The RTO is the project lead, and the partner contributions flow into the RTO. They don't flow through to the partners. In terms of the program, you, the applicant, are the partner. This means that the RTO9 holds all the funds for the project and pays the invoices from vendors directly for the project. The RTO9 does not send funds to partners. So projects may receive up to 50% funding for their eligible project. However, it is very important to note that this isn't a grant program. It's a partnership program, so it does require 50-50 funding split with the applicant. So for example, if you have a $10,000 project, your organization would contribute $5,000 and the RTO would contribute the other $5,000. It's also very important to note that this funding is inclusive of HST. So when you're budgeting for your project, be sure to account for HST on your invoices. So you're asking for the right amount to cover the HST cost. So the ministry, as I mentioned, sets the guidelines for the use of these funds. So I'm just going to run through some of the ineligible expenses through the funding program. The full list can be found on the RTO9 website under the Partnership Fund Program tab. I will show you where to locate everything in a little bit. But this ineligible expenses includes grants or flow through to other organizations, charitable fundraising, advocacy, donations to political parties or groups, capital costs associated with permanent structures. The exception to this is wayfinding signage and building signage, competition prizes, prize money, or funds paid to a competition participant, previously incurred expenses. So anything you may have paid for outside of the project period, we cannot reimburse. The refundable portion of the HST or other refundable expenses that do not directly relate to the delivery of the Partnership Fund project, in-kind donations, funds for operational funding, for example, salaries or wages, insurance, things like that, alcohol, food, or swag items. It's also very important to note that based on the ministry guidelines, prohibiting flow through, the RTO9 cannot reimburse a partner directly for expenses. So this means you cannot run an expense through on your personal or company credit card and get reimbursed for the expense. We require an invoice from the vendor with the billing address to the RTO9, along with their information for an electronic funds transfer, EFT. And then we pay your supplier directly. So we require all vendors delivering services for the project to accept EFT payments. As this program is always oversubscribed each year, we always require the partners who entered into a contract with the RTO9 to pay their 50% contribution within 30 days of signing their contract, or we reserve the right to reallocate the funds to another project. We do require that payments be made to the RTO9 electronically. We do not accept cash or checks. You can pay your 50% contribution via EFT, which is between your bank account and ours, or you can send an e-transfer using breddick@region9tourism.ca. However, if you're using this method, we ask that you include your project name and your invoice number on the notes section of your transfer. And we can only accept electronic payments for your 50% contribution. So make sure that you can do that. And I know lots of people have a daily max that they can send. That's totally fine. We cross that bridge when we get there. All payments must be made to a third-party vendor that has no affiliation with the recipient or contracted partner to avoid conflicts of interest. So upon entering into a contract with RTO9, all recipients are required to acknowledge the support received by use of the Ontario Yours to Discover logo on all consumer-related materials where applicable, the Ontario Trillium logo on all industry-related materials where applicable. We reserve the right to approve all logo placements prior to public release or production, and any public announcements or media releases require pre-approval from RTO9. All these assets will be provided to your project Basecamp after you've been approved for funding. If you're looking to apply for signage, you do not need to include the logos on your building or wayfinding signage, especially Todd's has specific appearance that they have, so you can't include logos on it. But your acknowledgement of the funding can be done through releases or through social media. We just ask that you provide a copy prior to release for approval. So once you've been approved for funding, there are some really important next steps regarding documentation. We do require a signed contract and supporting payment within 30 days of receipt of the contract, not within receipt of your funding email, but within receipt of your contract. You must attend a mandatory Basecamp training for your project. This is just our project management software that we utilize to contain all your project information in one spot. We provide the training. It comes at no cost. We will also ask that you notify us within 30 days after your project closes if you're going to be using all of the funding. And all invoices and supporting documentation must be uploaded through your Basecamp folder that we'll provide to you. So we absolutely require your signed contract, your 50% contribution, and your certificate of insurance listing the RTO9 as additionally insured prior to paying any invoices for your project. So get these things done as soon as possible. It avoids delays in payments, and we want to ensure that your project can get on time and make sure that your vendors are paid. So because the ministry is funding the program, we are expected to meet their requirements for RFPs, depending on the nature of the expense. So for any expense under $5,000, you must indicate that a search for best value of dollar was completed. Anything over $5,000 does require an RFP process to take place, recommended at a minimum window of 10 to 14 days for qualified quotes to be submitted, and then you must provide at least 3 written quotes for the expense. The partner will permit the RTO9, if required, to audit or verify the information submitted at the discretion of the province. So make sure if your expense is over $5,000, you're getting at least 3 quotes so that we know it's the best value for dollar. So once an applicant is approved for funding, they are required to submit written ministry reports. There's a mid-year and final reports where applicable, just to reconcile the use of the funds and provide some insight into the project. So these reports include descriptions of activities linked to the project as outlined in the application, Digital copies of any assets created during the project period, pictures of signage that was done, proof of acknowledgement of RTO9 and ministry funding support. If you're doing press release, a link to that would be great. Explanation of any variance between the application and the report, which is totally fine. If you said we were gonna get 500 photo assets, you only got 350, that's fine. If you can just explain the variance, why that might have been. Maybe the weather wasn't so great when you did your photo shoot, so that was all you were able to capture. And we typically would need budget forecasting for remaining expenses between December 1st, 2026 and February 17th, 2027 for your midterm reports. So the condition, this is just going to be evaluation criteria. So what's expected of applications. Funding priority will be given to project applications that have attended an information session or even better, met one-on-one with operations manager, me, of RTO9 prior to submission. They promote overnight visits, increasing the length of stay, have clearly defined and measurable goals, and are new to the Partnership Fund program or have not received funding from RTO9 within the past 3 years. If you have received funding, it doesn't mean you're ineligible. It just means that priority is going to be put on new applicants. So just a few tips for when you go to complete your application, just to take into consideration. The key to a successful application is preparation, a clear understanding of your project and how it impacts tourism in the region. So be sure to clearly demonstrate how your project will have a positive economic impact for your business, other local businesses, or the region as a whole. Be sure to demonstrate clear and measurable goals that can be used to benchmark the success of your project, and ensure that you provide all the relevant information without overwhelming reviewers with information. So eliminate any fluff. Concise and clear applications that demonstrate a high understanding of RTO9 objectives to grow tourism in the region are more likely to receive funding. So there are 5 major assessment criteria that applications are assessed against. These criteria include alignment with RTO9 mandate and program objectives, weighted at 25% of your overall score. Project impact and tourism value, weighted at 25% of your overall score. Feasibility, readiness, and budget integrity, weighted at 20% of your overall score. Eligibility and compliance, weighted at 15% of your overall score. And finally, applicant capacity and quality of submission, again, weighted at 15% of your overall score. This is actually also up on the website. You can pause here to read it, but I will show you where to find this on the website as well, because we want you to be able to access this information and, curate your application based on this evaluation matrix. So now that you've watched this session, here is the next part of the process. If you haven't already done so, please read the 2026-2027 Partnership Fund Guidelines. This document contains all the information you need to know about this program. Connect with your local DMO, DMMO, or DMP and notify them of your application. Have a discussion with them about your project. Obtain a letter of confirmation from them to include with your application that just says that you talk to them, discuss the project, and they know that you're applying. And then once the application's open, March 2nd, fill in the provided application form, along with an upload of your DMO, DMMO, DMP letter, and a proof of copy of proof of incorporation, CRA business number, certificate of Indian status registry number, or Métis registry number. This is the only documentation you are required to submit at the time of applying. But important to remember that you do need $2 million general commercial liability insurance. We won't need proof of it until you are approved for funding. So the intake period for this year's funding opens Monday, March 2nd, 2026, but it will close Sunday, March 22nd, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. No applications are accepted after this deadline. So start early, plan in advance, get it in on time. All applications must be submitted through the virtual platform. So make sure that you go in and you test. And all projects must take place between May 1st, 2026 and February 17th, 2027. There is a maximum of one application per business. But as previously mentioned, that application can only include one category. So check what your business needs and apply accordingly. So then after the application window closes, all applications will be submitted to third-party assessment using that scoring matrix. And then applications will be contacted via email regarding the status of your application, whether you're approved or denied within 25 days of the window closing. So not when you submit your application, but when the window closes. So you can find an example of applications, both poor and good application examples on our website on the partnership funding page. There's lots of good stuff on there. If you haven't been, I definitely recommend going and checking it out. It has everything you need. The online form will save automatically after completing each page. So you have to click the next button. That's really important. And you must access the form from the same device in order for it to pull up your information that you've already input. I do recommend adding the form to your bookmarks bar or favorites on your browser in order to have quick access to it. You will always be able to re-access it from the website as well. But as long as you're using the same device, it should bring you back to where you left off. You can also start a Word document, copy paste your answers into a Word document, and then you just copy and paste right into the application form. So I'm going to show you where to find all of this good stuff and information. And then I'm also going to show you just a sample of the application form. So here is if you're on the Arizona website, if you go to partnerships and funding, you would click the partnership fund program link. This is the page for the Partnership Fund program. There's lots of information here. A lot of it you will recognize from this recording. If you're interested in booking a one-on-one meeting with me to discuss your project, you can do so by clicking this button here. It'll show you my real-time availability with my Google Calendar. So anything that's available there, it's available. So make sure you check a time that works best for you. Here's all the program resources. So there's program guidelines. There's the quick fact sheet if you just want a quick overview and then jump into the guidelines to get a more in-depth look. Here's where you can find that list of approved vendors. And then if you want to watch a live session, you can also always join us by registering here. Here's the examples that I was talking about. So if you're looking to see an example of what a good application is or what a bad application is, we got them both here. That scoring matrix that I had up on the slide, the 5 categories, you can review the matrix here so you can actually, pause and read and see what information is needed to, hit the higher levels of each category. And if you're not sure of who your DMO or DMMO or DMP is, you can find your local contact on our website here. The application will be below here. There's just some final reminders to make sure that you've read the guidelines, you've connected with your DMO, DMMO, or DMP, you've talked to me, you have a budget that has a proper funding split. You can find the budget template here. It automatically does the split for you when you submit information. Right now, the window is closed. It will open March 2nd. There will be a button here for you to apply now once it's open. Now I'm going to jump into the test application. Again, the questions on here are the same as those on the example application. So if you're interested in getting started on an application in a Word document, you can use those. And these are all just reminders, confirmation that you've talked to me, you've read the guidelines. Then we just jump into some, general eligibility. Are you a for-profit business that's incorporated? You have CRA business number, you're an Indigenous business, at least 51% plus Indigenous owned and controlled. And then we just need some general applicant information. So the name of your business, your address, which destination you're a part of, your website, who we should be contacting about your application, phone number for that person, their email address. If you've had any past projects through the partnership fund, you just list them here in the year. You're just going to click here and upload your letter of acknowledgement or confirmation. Click here to upload your proof of corporate status, Ontario Business Registry number, CRA Business Registry number, Certificate of Indian Status Registry number, Métis Registry number. You can do that here. And just another reminder that you don't need it right now, but we will need a copy of your 2 million commercial general liability insurance. So for this example, we are saying that we're applying for digital capacity building. It will change the application depending on what you're applying for. So for this example, we're doing digital capacity building, put a full project summary. I've actually just kept the information from the good example in here, but it addresses, what the project is looking to do, how it's going to assist your business with revenue creation, what's the rationale, what's the demand for it, what you're expecting of the outcome. So what objectives do you want, how you're going to measure the success, smart performance measures. So there's examples of what a smart performance measure is in here, if you need some help with that. So just things that are going to explain what your expected outcomes of your project are, and measurable at that. We want to make sure that, when you're at the end of your project, you can look back and say, did we meet this goal? So for the digital capacity building, this example is going to say, describe what the needs of your business are. So what specifically do you need assistance with? What are the gaps that exist? Just a reminder that it doesn't cover costs associated with social media or digital marketing campaigns. And then we put an example in here of, what gaps currently exist for the business, project activities, so what the activity is going to be and when that activity is going to be taking place. Just a reminder that everything needs to be completed by February 17th. And then what your preferred vendor is if you're doing digital training. If you're doing digital training, it will include the drop down of the vetted vendors. If you're just looking for website enhancements, you would just say not applicable. Then it takes you into project financials and budgeting. So if you're getting other contributions for your project, you list them here. If you're not, you simply just put NA in the first line. This is where you're going to upload your budget. It's really important that you have the proper 50% split, and really important that you consider HST in your budget costs. So make sure you take HST into consideration when budgeting out your project, because we want to make sure we're getting everything covered. Then just a quick section of project economic benefits. So how is this project going to benefit the local or regional economy in terms of tourism development? So like, are you going to be creating new jobs? Is it going to lead to tourism growth? Is it going to lead to overnight stays? The sustainability plan, like what are you going to do ongoing for the project? And if you do have any businesses or other organizations that you're working with to complete this project, you can put them in here. Obviously, depending on the situation, you're not necessarily have other businesses looking to chip in, such as, signage. It's probably going to be you doing it all. So you might not have partners, but if you do, that is a great place. It always leads to a strong application to have some partners. This is just to ensure that you've read everything, you agree to all the following, you have a signatory that can sign off on your application, you're complying with the eligibility requirements, you understand that we may verify any information, and then just the date of the signing, and then you're going to click done, and that's it. That's the application. Very straightforward. We try to keep it basic so that it's not cumbersome to apply. So just some final things. So just a final reminder that all the funding is subject to RTO9 receiving their transfer payment agreement with the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Gaming. We cannot start projects without receipt of the signed contract or the required documents. So insurance, 50% payment. All invoices for the project must be made out to RTO9 as the billing address with EFT information included. Vendors must accept EFT direct deposit payments, and all the guidelines and other information are available on the RTO9 website. Please do not hesitate to look through all that information. I know it's a lot, but it's there to help you. So have a good look. Make sure that you've read through everything, you understand, and reach out. Please reach out if you have questions. Write down this email address, write down this phone number, reach out with questions. Happy to connect one-on-one. Want to make sure that you have all the information you need. And with that, that is the end of our recorded session. If you're interested, you can always scan the QR code here and sign up for our industry newsletter as well. It will automatically notify you of funding opportunities like this and others, and industry research and information that's coming down the line. And again, if you have any questions about the program, about your project, please do not hesitate to reach out. Friendly reminder that the application period opens March 2nd and it will close 11:59 p.m. March 22nd. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you. Bye, everyone.